Welcome to Rick's Corner. As you know, in the past, I bring legends of bodybuilding whenever I can find them and get them available. And there's a lot of people that I haven't found. There's some people I have found. I have a man here who's been on the cover of every muscle magazine. He trained at Vince's, he trained at Gold's, he had one of the best bodies in the world. He trained with Arnold. He trained at all of them. And I located him a couple of years ago, and we talked about getting together. And time kind of moved on. He finally committed and said, yes, I will come out and talk to you. So it's my honor to have Charles Fautz here.
Hi,
Charlie, it's really good to have you. I mean, it's been a long time.
It's a pleasure.
It's been a long time.
And we go back a long way.
We go back a long way. The funny thing was, you were training at Vince's.
Right.
And I was at Gold's in Venice.
Yeah.
And we had mutual friends back and forth, so we all kind of hung out together. But one incident, and I think I told you about it, is this is really funny, you guys. There's a Ralph's Market right down the street out here. I was living at the beach. Same Ralph's Market. One night, you decided to go there with, was Rick?
Rick Jaffe.
Rick Jaffe, right. And I was with somebody else, and we went over there, and you guys were going down the aisles, like eating peanut butter and tasting ice cream, putting it back and putting it back. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Sure. Every time I walk into that Ralph's, I think about those days, because
that
was back in the 70s. It was fun.
Sure.
It was a lot of fun back then.
Right. We all had, unlimited funds, and, it's a way, and we just like to do a little food tasting.
Exactly. So you were originally from where?
From New Jersey.
Okay. And you started your training back then?
I started my training when I was in, I stayed in a home gym, and I grew up in Union, New Jersey.
Okay.
And then...
How old were you then?
When I started training, I was 11.
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty young.
Well, I had a compound, how it all started, the kid threw me down a flight of stairs, and I had a compound fracture of the elbow. And my doctor, I had my arm broken over 3 times to reset my elbow, and he suggested I do exercises with the arm curls, with dumbbells. And I started doing those, and then my aunt bought me a set of Wrigley springs, where you add 1 spring, 2 and 3.
I remember those.
And I did that till I was about 13 years of age. And I started to notice that my body, shoulders, and arms were developing, and I could have more range. I didn't have full, I still don't today, but I started improving my range of motion, my arm, through the weight training. And as they were going to re-break it again after having it broken 3 times, I says no, and I just continued with the weight training.
From that point on, did you join the gym?
No, I didn't join the gym. We got a hold of a friend of my father's knew someone who owned Jackson Barbell Company, which was in Springfield, New Jersey.
Remember them?
And they bought me a 160-pound weight set. But my father said to me, and he wasn't an athlete, he says, buy these weights in small and as light increments as you could get so you could progress. So I went on a progressive weight training course when I was about 13 or 14. I would start with 8 reps and work up to 15. When I got to 15, I'd put a quarter pound on each side, then I'd go back to 8 reps. And I did 3 sets. I started out with 2 sets for about 6 months.
Right.
And then I went to 3 sets, and I progressed along that way.
And you saw the progress?
Yeah, tremendous. I was doing... By the time I was 15, I was squatting with 140, 150 pounds. I was doing bench presses. They were floor presses with 175, 180 pounds.
Seriously. Did you didn't know anything about diet, though, did you, at that time?
Well, my mother had a restaurant, and my father, we always ate very well. And I wasn't a junk eater. Basically, we had meat and potatoes, and that was our staple with a salad.
And it worked.
And I had cereal for breakfast, and it worked well.
That's just the normal line of eating. What inspires you to actually get into the bodybuilding as it is, the bodybuilding end of it?
Well, I started to look good. I started to shape up, and I said, well, I got to learn more about this. So my father said, well, you're interested in this. We're going to... and I tried the Jackson course. It worked very well for me. And then my father said, well, if you're going to do this, and he wasn't in favor of it to get into bodybuilding because he was a real estate and insurance man. He said, but if you're going to do it, try to meet someone who's the best. I know Jackson had a brochure with a fellow by the name of John Grimmick. Grimmick, so we found out that he was with the York Barbell Company.
Sure.
And then they drove me up to York, and then that's when I met Steve Stanko, John Grimmick. I was about 17 years old.
Yeah.
In those days, in downtown York, Pennsylvania, they had the York Gym.
Right.
And then I met John, and he gave me some advice on training.
What year was that?
We would say 19, let's see, I'll go back, 56, in fact, about 1957.
Okay. York Barbell Club had a sweatshirt that was a burgundy color out of a really thick, heavy cotton weight material that you can't find in sweatshirts anymore. It says York Barbell Club. I bought one mail order. It was $8. I still have it. It's in my closet. I still have that from the late 50s.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any more of those left because I moved around quite a bit since those, but I remember that. But I used to take the York protein powder.
Yeah?
That was my first supplement I took. And then I started taking, I used to like the chocolate powder, but I used to like to just take about a spoonful. And then I had a blender, and then I mixed it with an egg and honey.
Yeah.
I got to know a fellow who was in the health club business, and the health food business.
Yeah.
And then I could buy that in the regular store. I sold it back then.
And you made gains off that?
Well, I think the gains it kept me from eating junk.
Yeah.
In other words, it satisfied the palate.
Yeah, it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the
Yeah.
afternoon. I want a snack, and I think protein bars are full of sugar. I used to eat them, and I thought I want to eat something good. I don't want to eat junk, so I'll take a little bowl of oatmeal, throw some whey protein on there, and I've got a nice little snack, and then it keeps me from eating the junk,
sure.
right?
Takes away that craving.
And you came out here what year?
I came out here in 1960s, around 1967.
Okay, and what was the purpose?
Well, I used to attend all the Weider contests because I won all the major state titles in the New York, Mr. Gotham, Mr. New York.
But that was prior to coming here.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, prior. And I won the Mr. New Jersey, I won Miss South Jersey, Mr. Jersey, all these Jersey shows, and I placed very high in the national ones, AAU. And won about 100 trophies out of all in subdivisions they had back those days. But I was always impressed when I saw this guy. I won Mr. New Jersey in 1965. And I won the Mr. New Jersey AAU. And I said to him, and Dave Draper won. It was held in Jersey City, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at Draper and I said, boy, I'm glad he wasn't in the AAU contest because he looked so massive and he had that image.
Yeah.
And then I was at the first contest that Weider put on, and when they put in 1963 when Larry Scott won Mr. Olympia. And the reason I went to Vince's gym is that Vince Gironda is where these guys have trained, like Larry Scott, Don Hallworth, and that's the reason I went to train in gym, train there, because I wanted to work out.
Okay, so you had Larry Scott, Don Hallworth, you had Steve Reno, right?
We have Steve Reno, and then there was Paul Hill. Dan Mackey ran the place, as I remember. And then we had a guy named Richard Key, who was a very strong guy, and Ray Rutledge worked out there.
Oh, I know Ray. I remember Ray.
Yeah.
And then he had a lot of movie stars.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood, John Borgnine, and people like that. Robert Blake. I remember all those guys.
Eric Estrada.
Eric Estrada worked out there. I didn't know him.
He came later.
Yeah. Clint Eastwood,
yeah, for sure. Clint Eastwood. Vince's gym was not a big gym.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Vince's gym was, when I walked in there, it was the biggest disappointment I've ever seen in my life. Training in New York City with American Health Studio gyms, Abe Goldberg's. I mean, these are heavy weight gyms. Rico Thomas.
Yeah.
These were all big weight gyms where I trained with guys like Bruce Randall and people like that.
Right.
And Joe Abenda and Dennis Tinerino and all. I go to Vince's gym and see all these pulleys and cables. And first thing Vince is, and I went in there and I told Vince that I was inspired by the people that trained in the show that were in the contests that won in New York. And I said, I won a lot of the contests. And he said to me, so what?
That would be him.
And here I am. That's just what he said to me, so what? I said, well, look at this guy saying that to me, you know. So anyway, I start bench pressing. Where's squat bars? I couldn't find a squat bar. I did this thing on a metal pole, 2 poles together. And so anyway, I work out with Rick. I wanted to, do something different. I didn't want to train like this. So there was a contest coming up. It was in Palm Springs, California. It was called Mr. Heart of California.
I remember that one.
And it was down there at the Riviera Hotel or something like that. So I figured I'd go down. Here I won Mr. New Jersey. I won Mr. Eastern United States. And all these I'll smoke these guys. Well, a bunch of spiders down there cut the heck. They were skinny and they're all muscular. And looked like I was smoothed over. I didn't have the real definition. Yeah. So Vince said, you know what you look like? He says, you look like a jelly donut. He told me. Yeah. So I says, all right, Vince. I says, you smart ass. I says, I look like a jelly donut. I'll tell you what. And he said, you got to do this. I said, I'm going to do everything you tell me to do, and I'm going to quit bench press, I'm going to quit squat, and I'm going to do this, and let's see what you can do for me. So what happened was, I went in. There was another contest later on, about 2-3 months later, I was called Mr. Heart of California.
Mm-hmm.
I won best back, most muscular, best abdominals, and took second. Ed Corney won because he was from Fresno.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was
He was the favorite.
Yeah, up there. But that was that. And then I went back, but I won most muscular, and I got incredibly muscular.
Now, was
just by following Vince's stuff.
Okay, now
that was it.
What did Vince give you that was different than what you were normally doing?
Liver tablets, kelp.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was taking 40 liver tablets a day. I was taking kelp tablets. He wanted me to put liver in tomato juice or a V8 in a blender, and I tried that once and I got sick.
Oh, God, that's horrible.
So there was a place across the street from Vince's called The Grinder. So they had the hamburger and what I would have, I'd have a grinder patty and a salad.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way I lived.
But his training was a little different than the
Well, he had put me on all these pulley things. He had me do dips with a reverse grip. And Vince was amazed at my strength because I was cheat curling with 300 pounds. And I cut out all that stuff. And, you know, bench pressing. Well, he had a wooden bench. I was afraid it was going to break it.
Oh, I saw that bench.
You know, it was one of that driftwood-like bench. And that squat machine, it was a tricky way to use it. If you even no matter how strong you were in a regular squat, when you got to the halfway position, the body wouldn't transfer to the butt.
Mm-hmm.
So what you had to do like a sissy squat and thrust your hips forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried the damn thing. I said, this stuff is working. I'm so sore I could hardly walk. Then he put me up on the pulley machine, and he had a rowing machine that was just a wash line rope tied to a pulley, and he'd be criticizing me all the time.
He was like that.
Yeah, but I can tell you one thing: I respected the man, and I wouldn't take any of his insults. I'd insult him back. We'd become best of friends. I'd go to his house for dinner, and Rick Jaffe was there, and that was about 1968.
Yeah. Well, there's some good bodies that came out there. Larry Scott and Don Haworth were phenomenal.
Well, yeah, Larry Scott. Well, and they had a Scott bench.
Right.
This was in those days, I figured this was the magic of all the damn thing. I don't know. It had big wheels, aluminum wheels on the side, and in big thick handles, but you know they've hyped it up in the magazine. So Vince's Gym.
Yeah. Did you go on back in those days? I know a lot of guys were on Real Blair's diet.
I went down to Blair's one time.
Yeah.
With another guy, we drove down. And we figured we're bodybuilders. We'll get some free samples.
Exactly.
Well, what Arnold and those guys were doing, we all went together. I think it was myself, Arnold, and I forget the Rick, or me, either one. We went there several times, and I remember that. I tried to see if I could, we figured we could get some free samples, but he wouldn't give us nothing.
No?
He didn't give me anything. He gave Arnold, and anyway, I think he charged me $2 a can or whatever it was. And it was, what this stuff actually was, they had pineapple flavor, which was good, and they had different flavors. But what I noticed was that he had he went in his backyard, he had a garage, and he had all these supplies in his garage and pictures and booklets, and he sold all this stuff. And how Arnold would take this was 7-Up, half and half, and 7-Up, and
really?
And an egg.
Oh,
that was, and then he'd get smooth as a jelly donut on that,
Well, Arnold took me down there one day, and I met Rio, and he said, hey, if you do some modeling for me, I'll give you some free supplements, and you just come back once a month and he had a guy running a store, a guy with a big wavy hair. And so I got the protein and I got the B vitamins and all that. In fact, there's around top shelf up there. You see a little statue? I made that out of paper mache. And that's Real Blair's B vitamin bottle.
Oh, okay.
And I put a light bulb on the top of it, and I sculpted a bodybuilding statue out of it, and I've had it ever since. But his protein was good. It was very expensive. You had to buy it.
Something like that. But I couldn't. I got Weider I'd go down and get Weider stuff, But Rio H. Blair had a good tasting product. I mean, but I didn't take on it. I basically stuck with I didn't want to get smooth because Vince said that stuff is only going to make you fat.
And some does.
And
some does.
But that was really funny.
Now, you trained there for how long?
Well, I trained there. I went back east and went back after being in Vince's in around '69. I went back and trained there. I guess I trained there for about 4 months or 5 months, and I won a couple. I won that show. I went back east, and I was all sharpened up, and I won Mr. Jerseyite, and I took second in Junior Mr. USA AAU, and Dennis Tenorino beat me by a hair. And
Yeah, that was good.
yeah, but I was right up nick and tuck with him. And
Now, you trained at Gold's too?
well, yeah, I was. I originally came to Gold's, but I already I would have trained in Gold's later on. In fact, I first went to Gold's. That's where I had pictures taken. We'd go down there. And I remember one time I was training in Gold's with this big wrestler before Hulk Hogan,
Billy Graham,
and him and I were working dumbbells together.
Mm-hmm.
And we were starting with hundreds, and I got up to about 135 and seated clean, and I got 10 reps, and he kept on going till about 150. And
he was strong.
Oh, John Cole was his real name.
Wayne Coleman.
Wayne Coleman, yeah, he was a power lifter.
Yeah, very strong.
But we trained with him, and I remember taking a 150-pound dumbbell and doing a one-arm swing, and he liked that. But he was one of the guys I trained with down there.
What a great guy.
Yeah, he was rugged, a ruddy-looking guy, big. Yeah. But he was so big, you know. Yeah. But I had a good workout with him.
Now, how did you fall in with Weider? What inspired that?
Gene Mosé.
Oh, a photographer.
Right. They took some pictures of me, and Weider liked them, and he wanted me up for a cover shot. Mm-hmm. That's where I was with Gene's wife, Dawn.
I remember.
Yeah.
And so you did a few of those, though.
Oh, yeah, because Joe actually wanted me to win this Mr. America contest.
Oh.
Because I would go out to dinner with him a lot. He'd call me, and, sometimes I have to wait. He'd keep you waiting, too. I'd go down to his wife was name was Betty Brusmer, but her mother lived on, it's a street that runs down there. And it's in West L.A., I can't think of the name now, Beverly Glen.
Yeah.
And I used to go up and wait for him, and Weider had a little apartment with his wife there in the mother's back house.
Joe was a great guy.
Yeah.
He definitely knew how to promote.
And he liked me a lot. And so that's where I got the publicity, and he'd pay me to go to the contest back east. But I decided I want to get a job. And Vince got me a job working at the athletic club.
Oh.
And that's how I got tied up down there. And that's why I never went to Gold's, because I figured, here's a good deal. I'm getting paid, and I can work out.
Yeah, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, oh, crap. I was making about $7,500 a year down there starting. Back then was good, you know.
Yeah.
Rented a joint for about, $90 a month or something like that.
Yeah, was cheap back then.
Cheap, really cheap, you know.
What about getting on testosterone and DECA and that type of stuff?
The only thing I ever took, and it was about 3 months before a contest, was Decaturoblan.
And you got good results?
Well, I had a doctor, and I used it to cut with. I didn't use it to get big. See, I didn't have the knowledge of how to apply it. I remember the kids in school were taking Dianabol, but they were getting these zits all over their back.
Yeah.
And I just had a funny feeling about taking it, and I never got into it. But I started getting into shots of DECA about 3 months before a show, and I had a doctor that I knew at the athletic club give it to me.
Yeah. You
and
see results?
I see a difference? Sure did.
Big time.
I mean, if I'd have been taking all the other stuff like these guys were taking, cut up Cytomel, and they were taking, all this. I did it all with nutrition.
Yeah.
But I did, and I was afraid to get into that. And then I said, I don't know. These guys were getting so good so fast. Had I taken it, I probably could have won some real major contests. Kept going.
Yeah. Well, they were
responsibilities. I got married, and then. That changed my life around.
Yeah,
bought a house.
You still did it. You still had a great body on what you did do.
Well, yeah, I did. I won over 200 trophies.
That's a lot of trophies.
And the fact is, I have a trophy room in my house back east, and I have trophies here. I won most muscular man, Mr. USA, best abdominals. I beat Harold Poole. Only way I could beat Harold Poole, he was out of shape, but it was fun.
He was quite a guy too.
He was big though. I mean, and it was at the '71 Mr. USA contest.
The whole era of the golden era bodybuilding, whether it be Vince's gym or Gold's gym, was a different feeling back then. There's nothing like that today.
Well, as guys, what we would do, we'd all go out and have dinner together. We'd get together, camaraderie. We weren't like a bunch of wildcats trying to, argue with one another who's the best and put each other down.
Yeah.
But I used to like Arnold's psychology. He was pretty cool. There'd be a guy in good shape. I don't know the name at night. And Arnold would go like this. He'd say, "Have you?" And the guy he was trying to put down was looking really good. Arnold would go to his arm. He'd go like this. have you been training? You look like you lost a little size. This poor son of a bitch lost his pump.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's the way Arnold would be. In a
Right.
joking way. You looks like you lost your size.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and the guy's pumped up like hell, you know.
And the guy would
it
go look
takes
in the
us-
mirror and say, "Oh my God, I look like I'm sick."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He was a great psych artist.
yeah, he's really good at
He's
that.
probably the smartest guy in bodybuilding that I know for planning his life, because he was just, and him and Frank Zane were really the two that
Yeah.
really made it to the top.
Yeah,
And,
they knew what to do.
yeah, Zane was a very smart guy. You'd see Zane 3 months after a contest and see him on the beach. You would think he's just a good high school athlete.
I know.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you look at him one day and he looks like a piece of marble, you
Yeah.
know, chiseled. You know.
Yeah, they could do that really quick.
Yeah, and he
Um,
was.
Are you in touch with anybody today from back then?
I don't go to anything anymore since.
No old friends that.
Well, since I have friends, yeah, but most of my friends are in other businesses.
But not from bodybuilding.
No, because we don't get together like we used to. See, when Gold's Gym was around, we'd have dinners.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd all get together, and but they don't do that anymore.
No.
So there's no way to make contact with these guys.
Well, most of the guys that we knew back then, they're either totally out of it, or a lot of them passed away,
Yeah,
or they're not healthy, and it's hard to track them down.
yeah.
There's a handful.
I mean, I would like to see them. In fact, I was inducted into the Muscle Beach Hall of Fame 10 years ago. But, you know, and people there, you know, and they probably don't know who I am, you know, except for the old, but I don't see the old Bill Grant.
Bill Grant's always active. Yeah,
who was a guy that goes back to Jersey, who won all the competitions in my era. And I guess he's the only one that I know that came out here from Jersey.
Dan Padilla's being inducted on the 4th of
Yeah,
July.
I want to try to make it to that, because I really would like to see some of these guys. You
Yeah.
know, like Kent Kuhn and
He's
all
there.
them.
He's there.
Yeah.
I have a booth down there selling shirts, but
But parking, I don't know where to park. I got a
Well-
bike. I live down at the beach there.
Well, then
But-
ride the bike, because I paid for parking. It was $20.
Yeah.
But I was there all day. And I had
Yeah.
to sell shirts, so that was worth it. Just
And
to be
I'm
down
thinking about going down there this year just to see Eddie Giuliani, who I.
there. He's always there.
You know, he's a regular. I like Eddie. I mean,
Yeah.
him and I used to always have fun in the gym.
He's so funny.
And I used to train with him over there. We train over in the World Gym, and too bad that they never took that over.
I know.
You know,
I know.
and Mike Uritz, I guess, was the franchise manager of that.
They what I heard was when Joe passed away, they started asking for membership, and a lot of guys didn't want to pay. They said we always got it for free. But Joe died. You can't
You're
get
in
it for
business. No, I don't believe in things like that for free. I think that if a man has a gym and he puts his effort into building a gym, people should pay.
free. Yeah. You have to keep, you have to keep the lights
But
on.
that's a problem I had as a young guy too. I figured here I was. I won a few contests. I could walk in any gym like I owned it.
Yeah.
It took a little sense in my head later on when I got into other businesses and realized, you don't operate like. But you know, young kids, they think like that.
That's a different
They
mindset.
they think you're a god or something.
That's a
know?
different mindset.
Yeah.
But I do find that around the country, especially with the show, that a lot of the younger viewers, you guys out there, do show me and show guys like Charles and a lot of respect, because we're old school and
Yeah.
we've learned so much over the years, in the past 50, 60 years about training. We've learned more than anybody will ever know.
Well-
We've actually forgot more than anybody will ever know. So there's a certain respect out of that as
I've
well.
trained with the best in the world at my time. Started out training in New York. I trained with Joe Abenda when I won some contests. I always went to a gym and I'd watch a contest, or if I'd lose, I'd get to know the guy who won the contest.
Yeah.
And I would ask him, Joe Abenda, I've been to his house for dinner. I've been to Dennis Tenorino's home in the Bronx, and he was there. All these top guys. Bruce Randall was at my house.
Mhm.
I got to know these guys, and I picked their brain. Dick Dubois.
Sure.
One time when he was in New Jersey, he was a preacher at the time. I had him write courses, and I tried everything, and I put all this information together.
Yeah.
Basically, all the top guys are on the same page.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I mean, there's a little different exercises, but it's like anything else, and you learn from someone else.
Yeah. When did you actually quit training like that?
1972, 73. After I competed, and I didn't want to compete. I got married,
Yeah.
and a family. I trained, but I didn't train for competition.
Did you stay in good shape though?
Well, I went ahead. A divorce started. Well, I went into a period of time where I worked hard, and then I started drinking, which I quit that many. But I did that because I had a training partner who owned restaurants, and we'd go out and we'd train, and then say we'd work it off by training the next day. And
Yeah.
but we got into wine tasting and all that fancy stuff, but I kept training. But I found that I could, I was strong. I could bench press 400 when I was 50.
Yeah.
And now I don't think I could do 125.
I'm the same way. I had 455, and now
Yeah.
I'm able to do
I hit a
machines.
goal, and I worked up. I would pyramid, and
Yeah.
one mistake I made, though, I would do chest 3 times a week, and that was too much.
But back then, sometimes that was the
didn't
norm.
know.
That was the norm.
Well, I had the type of, I liked the gym.
Mhm.
See, I didn't care if it was right. I wasn't trained. I just liked to work out,
Yeah.
you know? And that's why I took a job at the LA Athletic Club, because then I decided I'd take my knowledge and help other people. And then I got into the fitness supervising thing where I train people,
Yeah.
members of a club, and I've done that for many years.
What about injuries today? What kind of injuries do you have?
I really don't have, I don't have anything but bad shoulders.
No knees. Knees are okay.
Knees are, well, I trip, I find I don't balance. I was putting something up on a ladder, and I missed a couple steps, and I backed down a little bit, but I found that, no, my knees would be considered good, but I got to be careful. It feels like one jumps out once in a while.
Yeah. You lose a little balance. I do the same thing. They
yeah.
get shaky for some reason. This gets
Yeah,
shaky.
but as far as that, I'm in good shape. It's outside of my shoulders. Like now, it's like nothing, except I don't have a full range of movement.
Yeah.
Night times can be difficult
Yes.
because I put my arms up when I sleep and lay on my stomach,
Yeah.
and
Everything's just stiff.
yeah. But when they did an MRI and they did tests on me with the needles, they couldn't. This is when I retired about 15 years ago from
Right.
working at all. They couldn't get the needle, and I was watching an oscilloscope through the cartilage. Was
I've had that happen to my scar tissue and
yeah.
cartilage.
So now it's, I just suffer. It's not that bad,
No, you're lucky.
and I stopped pressing just a matter of this year, and I use the pulleys. In fact, I'm doing the exercises Vince showed me with it.
And it still works.
Well, real light.
Any advice for the young guys out there training, how they should train, if they should watch for anything?
Yeah, it's hard to talk to a young guy. I get some trainers I talk to once in a while. I don't. In the type of gym I train in, it's not a gym where there's advanced trainees. They're just fitness people, and it's a little different.
Yeah.
I tell them not to work to exhaustion, and it's like Vince would tell me how much blood to build muscle, for one thing. The theory of building muscle is to do an exercise and say you do it 8 times or 6 times.
Yeah.
All right, and then when you feel a pump, it's like how much water can you put in a glass?
Right.
In
Yeah.
other words, if you get the blood in the muscle, you do 3 or 4 sets. That's it.
That's it.
If you keep doing it, you do 20 sets.
You go past the pump.
But here's what happened when I was a young guy. I read these magazines, and then Joe Weider would say, "How about Charlie's, and I want 8 exercises for the arms." Well, I used to read the Weider magazines, and I figured I had to do all the 8 exercises instead of picking 3. I remember one time I was a young kid, and I was about 16, and they had an article on Steve Reeves doing laps, and they had Steve Reeves doing power cleans on his knees with a wide grip.
That would be awfully hard to do.
All right. Well, he had a thing, and so it said he did 145. So I went to work, and I start cleaning for my knees.
Yeah.
Wide cleaning. I got up to one. I said, "Geez, I'm doing more. I'm like 17 and a half or 18. I'm doing more than Steve Reeves." And that was around the time he did Hercules Unchained, and they had all his pictures in the magazine. They had one of his routines, I forget. Many years later, I got to know Steve Reeves very well. I said, "Steve, I want to tell you something. I remember doing your exercise you had in the magazine, cleans on the knees." He says, "I never did that." Weider had him put that in there.
He did that with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, in other words, if they take a wide grip, they do deadlifts and all that.
He had Franco and those guys load up the T-bar with like 20 plates on it and hold it one time.
Yeah.
And everybody thought he lifted it.
Well, I remember one time Bob Birdsong was working out in Gold's Gym, and I was pretty strong then. I was doing bench. I was on the machine. He had a machine in there, the Smith machine, and I do 350 a couple of times on that Smith and locked you in. All of a sudden, I see this Birdsong doing press behind the necks with 3 plates for reps. I said, "What the? I'd never seen anyone do this."
Yeah.
They were balsa wood plates.
Oh, really?
For pictures.
Oh.
And it looked like these plates are sticking out like that, and here he is pushing up. I said, "This guy can't be doing this. I seen the best in the world that couldn't do this."
Yeah.
And so that's what happened.
There was one guy that could.
Yeah,
You remember
Steve Marjanian, yeah.
Yeah, both the same
someone
page.
like him, yeah.
he would
Or
do it.
Chuck Aarons.
Or
I knew
Chuck
him,
Aarons.
too. There was another character.
Another character. We had a lot of characters back in those
Oh,
days.
yeah, good ones.
I always wished I had video camera back then so I could show people what it was about
Yeah.
because you have to really see them in action. They were nuts, most of them. Nuts.
Yeah, I tell you, I was with Bill Kazmaier one time at a trade show, and I remember he was advertising something, and he was standing there. He weighed about 330, and it's his biggest character I've seen. He took the 150-pound dumbbells. He was going, oh, 150. It was Criterion or some. I was watching him do that. I said, "Oh,
Well, he would come into the gym. He'd do heavy benches, one set,
yeah,
and then lay down on the floor and sleep for 10 minutes. Then he'd get back up and do another set, lay down on the floor and sleep for 10 minutes. He's the strongest guy, but
big.
Big, yeah, big.
But I mean, I used to go to all these because I used to buy equipment for the gyms, and I did go and I would test it out because we'd get new lines. But when we bought equipment, you don't buy one line of equipment. You buy good 3 or 4 machines, or you pick the best piece of equipment from each maker. Whether it be Life Fitness or some company like that, IHEART and one of those. They're all pretty much. Today they engineer equipment a lot better than they used to. The worst stuff was the old Universal gyms.
Oh, that was okay.
I remember doing leg extensions on a damn thing, and it didn't give. You just could straighten like that, or you hit a leg press. It was, I mean,
they were bad.
Oh, they were.
Today it's sophisticated. I mean,
they really got the angles.
Yeah, they're better than free weights.
Yeah.
So what do you do with yourself nowadays?
I'm retired and I travel. And I have a lady friend I've gone with for 40 years. And she passed away. Yeah.
So where do you travel? Just back and forth, East Coast?
Yeah, back East Coast and the Bahamas and all those places. She had a jet.
Oh, nice.
And fly around. She was a very wealthy woman.
And you're out here for how long now?
I'll be here through July, and then I'll go back to my place in New Jersey and New York and see my friends. And
if people want to reach you on the internet, how do they?
Hey, I got an email. It's CHRLFAU@AOL.com.
Okay, I'll put that up. And then you have Facebook.
I'm on Facebook too.
Some of your old photos?
That's her in her limousine.
Well, the best way for me to do this is get them on the internet because they'll never be able to see this.
Here's her plane she had.
Well, I want to thank you for being here. I'm sure your viewers would like to see what Charles has to share with all this stuff.
Here's our friend.
Yeah, I actually have a copy of this. This is an old Weider ad with the belly hanging out over here, and then there he is in shape. And I remember he used to do this for you guys. Waller did the same thing.
Yeah, we all did it.
Yeah, all of you guys.
Yeah.
This is fun stuff.
Yeah, I just didn't know. I figured I'd just bring a little.
Yeah, actually I have some of those. I found them on the internet. I downloaded.
Yeah. But it's a pleasure, and I train regularly every day. I train 2 days on, 1 or 2 days off, and I do it. I figure how many workouts I do a month. But I take a break. I do upper body, lower body, a day off. I do cardio every day, 30 minutes on the
a little bit of something.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
And I like to help other people and give them advice and how to work out. It's a pleasure seeing you, Rick. We go back a long way.
Yes, we do. I want to thank you guys for watching Rick's Corner, and it's really nice having Charles here. And we're sure you enjoy everything he had to say because there's a lot of history in this interview, and I totally enjoy it.
And people, keep up your training.
Keep up your training, and stay tuned for next time. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
It's RickDrasin.com. He is the equalizer, baby. See you next time.